Why does the American criminal justice system need to be reformed? My name is Christopher Bell, and this is today's presentation. These are the topics of today's presentation. What is criminal justice reform? The American criminal justice system is beyond corrupt. Due to racial stereotyping, implicit bias, and many other factors, our country has come to a point where we can no longer have faith in our justice system. Some will tell you that Martin Luther King Jr. ended racism with his I Have a Dream speech, but that's far from the truth. In fact, racism was just given a different face. Racism is built into the DNA of America. Our criminal justice system was built to overcriminalize and punish people of color since its creation. In order to change this, we need to reduce harsher prison sentences, decriminalize certain laws, change minimum sentencing laws, prioritize rehabilitation of offenders, and change the drug sentencing policy. Most people see prison as a place of punishment instead of what it really could be. They see the crime before the individual. Especially with wrongly convicted individuals, we need to see the people before the action. Instead of looking at prison as a place where bad people who have done unforgivable things can go, we need to look at it as a place of change, where people can become better. Out of the entire world, America has exactly 25% of the prison population. Many will tell you that slavery doesn't exist, but you can't say that to the hundreds of thousands of inmates that are being kept in cages. They are told that they have no rights and beaten for even stepping the slightest bit out of line. Inmates who are locked in solitary confinement, locked in a room smaller than a parking space with nothing but silence. America holds exactly 25% of our world's prisoners, but 34% of America's prisoners are black males. Due to the over-policing of black neighborhoods and racial stereotyping, black men are incarcerated far more than any other demographic in America. Due to mass incarceration, our prison numbers are getting larger and larger day by day. Our prison has long begun to overcrowd. Prison overcrowding is one of the key contributing factors to poor prison conditions around the world. Overcrowding, as well as related problems such as lack of privacy, can also cause or exacerbate mental health problems or increase rates of violence, self-harm, and suicide. The immediate cause of overcrowding is either overuse of imprisonment or insufficient prison capacity. Also, the remedy is simple. Send fewer offenders to prison and or for shorter periods of time, or build more prisons. It was only in the year 1875 that black people were given the right to serve on juries, but even then, it was very rare that they'd be allowed to. They were often told that what they were wearing wasn't okay, or that they can't have facial hair. In other words, too black. We have the right to serve on a jury of our peers, but when we're not given that right, the jury will have overcriminalized us due to the fact that they don't understand our background. The right to a jury of our peers will have been nothing but a lie. Most mandatory minimum sentences apply to drug offenses, but Congress has also enacted them for other crimes, including certain gun, pornography, and economic offenses. Mandatory sentencing laws require that judicial offenders deliver a minimum or fixed penalty upon conviction of an offender. Mandatory sentencing laws may apply to certain offenses or to a particular type of offender. For example, repeat offenders. Due to the failure of our criminal justice system, the only safeguard we can give people of color is the right to a defense. With the failure of our public defense office, we can barely give them that. Due to this, Jim Crow may as well be alive and kicking. Without proper legal counsel, clients are told to plead guilty without negotiating for a shorter sentence or pleading to insanity. Our public defense office is severely underpaid for what they do. They're given about 20 clients at one time and given at least an hour to review a case to give proper legal counsel. The 13th Amendment forever abolished slavery as an institution to all U.S. states and territories. In addition to banning slavery, the amendment outlawed the practice of involuntary servitude. Involuntary servitude occurs when a person is coerced into work in order to pay off debts. The 1875 ratification of the 13th Amendment was a transformative moment in American history. The first declaration that neither Slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist. Criminalization of drug offenders, excessive levels of imprisonment, and punitive sentence laws, including mandatory sentencing, the death penalty, and enforced drug detention centers, are some of the unintended negative consequences of the 50-year war on drugs. President Nixon launched President Nixon launched the war on drugs in the early 1970s, and about 10 years later, President Ronald Reagan strengthened that effort. Unconstitutional overcriminalization. It means to employ state-sanctioned violence to discourage and punish conduct that threatens the very fabric of civil society. The Central Park Five. It's one of the most famous cases that involves unconstitutional overcriminalization. Before I continue, I must warn you that this case is extremely graphic. These 5 black men were blamed for raping a white woman and leaving her in Central Park. It was only later that they were found innocent after a serial rapist had admitted to the crime. Despite the lack of any DNA evidence and a large amount of circumstantial evidence, all 5 were found guilty without proper legal counsel and a horrible plea deal. They were given all sentences that served as long as 13 years in a prison. I am happy to announce to you all that they were released at separate times. Even after all these years, this case still haunts America. Why is the incarceration rate so high? There's 2 main leading factors as to why the incarceration rate is so high. Mental health and drug use. Mental health. What a lot of people don't know is that a court of law in one can plead to sentencing. Without the proper legal counsel of an insanity plea, the court will not know about a mental illness and can possibly be a high contributing factor as to why the crime was committed. In fact, mentally ill inmates are incarcerated much longer than other inmates. Many find it difficult to understand and to follow jail prison rules. In one study, jail inmates were twice as likely to be charged with a facility rule violation. Nearly 300,000 people are held in state and federal prisons in the United States for drug law violations, up from less than 25,000 in 1980. Drug use among people in prisons has associated with a range of adverse outcomes both during imprisonment and post-release. The risk of suicide in prison is particularly high for people with SUDs, and withdrawal from drug use has been identified as a possible trigger for suicide in these first days of incarceration. Worldwide, about 1 in 3 people held in prisons is estimated to have used drugs at least once while incarcerated. As you can see, drug use is a huge problem in our justice system. How many of you know this woman? Her name is Alice Johnson. She was given a 26-year sentence for a nonviolent drug crime. She was given the same sentence as a Unabomber. Even Alice has admitted that she deserved jail time. No one's saying that she didn't, but for 26 years, she was never even proven violent. Thankfully, she was set free from her wrongful sentence because of the work of a legal team and a household name we all know. Kim Kardashian. A household name we all know. This is a woman who's actually getting her bar at the moment to work for prison reform. She gathered her team of lawyers immediately after she heard the injustice that is the case of Alice Johnson. She helped free Alice Johnson from the corruption of this country that day, and that day, Alice got to see her family again. She now honors her father by working as a lawyer to fight the corrupt criminal justice system of this country. I did not talk about every reason as to why the criminal justice system needs to be reformed. In fact, this is only a fraction of what could have been said. I could be here for hours talking on this one topic alone. There are factors that I have left out, like over-policing of black neighborhoods and police brutality. There are ways we can help, and I've actually listed these ways in my next slide. Thank you all for watching.